It's not a terrible idea. It's not a good idea, but it's not a terrible idea. Well, maybe you should have told me that. Downstairs, big mess. Water everywhere. It's Tai Chi. I'm a spider, Janet. I'm a spider. Bathroom's that way.
Hello, true believers, and welcome to another episode of That 90s Spider-Man Show with me, Nicolas Cage. I'm pretty sure I had a Nicolas Cage impression, but turns out I don't. Anyway, that's That 90s Spider-Man Show. Nicolas Cage.
I think you kind of do. I think Cage is a hard one because, while that I think was a fairly accurate Cage, there's also got to be these weird emphasis and yelling.
Yeah. He's more like Christopher Walken than you'd think.
Yeah, it's just as long as you just got to jut out at weird times, you know, like you said, that Spider-Man show is good with that Spider-Man show.
That 90s Spider-Man show, I got bit by a spider. It hurt.
Well, the thing is with this one is that, like, I feel like Cage is doing his own impression.
I don't know what he's doing.
Oh, I can tell you exactly what he thinks he's doing. But anyway, if we haven't said already, it's early for me. My brain is not working, but we're talking Spider-Noir today.
Yeah.
Which
is the Amazon
Prime show.
Yeah. My brain is not working any of the time, so that's okay. But yeah, I'm Henry, that's Jack, and we talk about Spider-Man in his different forms. Animated, non-animated, Nicolas Cage, which is kind of a bit of both. And yeah.
It is funny though, because like the idea of like even loving Nicolas Cage, the idea of him playing a Spider-Man would have seemed like a terrible decision like 10 years ago.
When this was announced, I was a bit like, really?
It's one of the smarter things that Sony have done with the spin-off Spider-Man thing, which I realize isn't saying anything at all.
They managed to get the ADR right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've said this many times before for myself, but to me, the multiverse stuff, the interesting thing about it is seeing these alternative worlds and stories, not them all meeting.
Yeah.
The big exception to this is the Spider-Verse movies, because everything about them is so great that the actual premise of all the Spider-Man being isn't really the best part of it. It's more like every single detail was done so well.
Yeah. And by multiverse movies, we don't mean No Way Home, just to clarify, so to get ahead of the comments and the tweets. No Way Home sucks.
Yes. With Spider-Noir, for instance, it's less of, I'm sure most people would see it as there was this character in Spider-Verse. Let's make something of this IP. Whereas Spider-Noir is this mini-series, which is pre-Spider-Verse. Like, it wasn't like they were doing a bunch of Spider-Man meeting and they're like, hey, there's this one guy who's from the 30s. Someone had this idea to do this alternate universe Spider-Man story. Unfortunately, like for me, I have never really enjoyed a Spider-Noir comic book, but not because the premise was bad. I thought the premise was awesome. It was just, I just happened to not like those stories. So it wasn't really much to get wrong with an adaptation here. And I don't think it's like necessarily that close to it really, other than the general look of things.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it makes sense to do this because I'm like, that's the interesting thing about this. They have this really annoying thing lately where in the comics, Spider-Gwen, who has a really interesting universe and story by herself, which is touched on in the start of Across the Spider-Verse, which is probably my favorite part of that movie. Recently, they have done this big shift to move her into the main universe with Miles and Peter.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't read it. In fact, like a writer attached to it, Stephanie Williams, is someone I like. But as a premise, I was like, no, the thing I liked about her wasn't like, I liked the character, but the main thing I liked was the world she was in was really cool. Like they do an alternate version of stuff. Like in that universe, Matt Murdock is the Kingpin.
Oh,
and he's like got all the Daredevil stuff, but he's like a corrupt lawyer, and he's like an utter piece of shit.
Is he still blind?
Yes.
Oh, that's...
But there's all these kinds of things that are like, these alternate versions of stuff. Her story goes in a completely different way because it's an alternate universe. They can kind of take more risks and stuff. Like there's big significant things happen to her and her world that wouldn't happen to like the regular 616. So like moving her over, and then it's like you get rid of all of that. Now she's just plopped into this universe, and it's like, okay, now there's like 10 spider people in New York.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that seems like you don't understand that what was interesting about it. But anyway, tangent, but to go back to Spider-Noir, I'm like, that's what's interesting. Like, if you're going to spin off this stuff, go into these like separate worlds,
Yeah.
And the weird thing about this show is that it kind of, in a weird way, it kind of does some of the regular Spider-Man stuff that we've been lacking. I wouldn't say like I've seen some people say like, this is the best Spider-Man thing in a long time and stuff like that. I don't feel that enthusiastic about it, but I think there's a couple of things they do in here that's interesting and kind of reminded me of older comics. Going back to what I was saying before about what Cage is trying to do, he once described the way he's playing this character as 70% Bugs Bunny, 30% Humphrey Bogart. And in my opinion, he's right, but those numbers are flipped. Because he is basically doing a Humphrey Bogart impression this entire time, and then occasionally just becomes insane.
Yeah.
Which are the best bits. Like, I almost want to go through and just like make a compilation of all his just weird mannerisms, because those were my favorite bits. Like, they let Cage be Cage a little bit.
Yeah.
The Bugs Bunny part is actually in the character in the comics, like I think they dial it back in recent no, not in this show.
Yeah.
In recent Spider-Man stuff, they dial back the Bugs Bunny chaos for two reasons, I think. For one, because they want Spider-Man to be this more wholesome, no child would ever, be upset by anything watching this kind of character. Like, he's a Disney princess a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's like he can't be too harsh. He can't be too antagonistic.
He can't be too mean.
And also, Deadpool has become so huge that they give all that to Deadpool.
Yeah.
And then Spider-Man's the nice guy. Whereas I think there is a Bugs Bunny in this, that, where he's like fighting people and he's being chaotic and he's being annoying and he's being funny and he's, I don't know, there's many different sides to how different writers have done it, but there's definitely a lot of, 60s, 70s comics where he is that, like he's doing like Looney Tunes bits.
Yeah.
And I kind of liked that Cage tapped into this, because I feel like he's kind of an old timey guy himself, in that he is like a huge historian of old cinema. Like, he's obsessed with silent movies and all this stuff. Like, he knows his shit. But I think like when he went into his version of Spider-Man, he was like, I'm going to figure out what the deal is with Spider-Man. And when you hear him interviewed about it, some of the stuff he says is kind of obvious. But like, I think it's because he's going back to real basics, and he's like, actually like, what's the core of this character? And then applying it to this bizarro version of it, which I think, I was always interested. I'm always interested in whatever Nicolas Cage does. There are definitely ways to use him wrong. And I think that the greatest success of this show is using him right. Would you agree?
Yeah. Watching the show and coming to the end of it, I came to the conclusion that like this wouldn't have worked with anybody else.
Maybe the Spider is a guy like anyone else. You ever think about that? You ever wonder what his problems were? He's swinging around burning buildings, saving people. Do you ever think he feels the heat? Or gets sad? Or tired? Or lonely?
What I really appreciate about this show as well is that there's lots of stuff here that like Tom Holland's Spider-Man wouldn't do. And part of that is just like because of the energy of the two different actors. But part of that is because one of them is like in their 20s, and there's lots of stuff that like Nicolas Cage, like this version of Spider-Man can't do because he's too old. The fight scenes are a little bit less kinetic. Like the quips are a little bit more tired, a little bit more world weary. He's like not doing crazy stunts. And I think that's useful. I think that's good because it kind of separates it as its own kind of version of Spider-Man. and it makes it more noir than Spider, and that required an incredible amount of restraint on somebody's part, and I'm glad they did that.
I think so. I think there's a way that they mess with the making the webs and the strength and the agility and stuff like that actually like it's like an additional thing, you know, like he's doing a PI stuff and this gives him a huge advantage, but it's not always really working, and it is in a world in which having a power is like a huge boost to any situation, because you're not in this world where there's shield or, you know, these kind of organizations that are accepting that this is part of this world. Going with that, what do you think of like the villains? Because we don't need to go into like too much like story details, I don't think, but like
I think not.
We are going to get a bit spoilery. You've got like versions of Spider-Man villains in here. Well, you have Silvermane, you have Tombstone,
you have
Sandman and Electro, and who the fuck is Fireman actually?
Is
that meant to be like
maybe?
I guess so. He might have. I can't remember what his name is, because there's a Human Torch before Johnny Storm Human Torch. Like,
oh, right.
That's in the wartime, and he's called Jim Hammond, and maybe it was him, but he's not. He's it's a very different character. But either way, like he's in it for a split second.
And you've Dr. Faber, I guess, as a villain.
Well, what did you think of these guys?
I like them for the most part. I like Lonnie Lincoln. I like Tombstone quite a lot. He was good. I think I was expecting before getting into the show, I was expecting one of Brendan Gleeson and Nicolas Cage to phone it in, and I was surprised when neither did. I think Brendan Gleeson is playing it much less big, but like he's also like
he settles a little bit, because I think at the start, I think in this first episode, I was like, does Brendan Gleeson know how to do his own accent?
Yeah.
I was like, what's going on? Why does he sound so hammy?
Yeah.
But then at the end, when things really kind of like pop off, he's playing it much lower than like anyone else's.
He's playing it like he's in like an actual like movie rather than a comic book thing. But he sounds like he's in a cartoon.
I honestly don't. I was a bit disappointed in Gleeson. Like, I think he's good because I think he can kind of act well in his sleep, but he may have been asleep. It's interesting because I, in a way, I feel like it's one of those villains where they're trying so much to establish the world that he is there just as a plot mechanic to make things happen. He needed to be bigger in some way, or he needed to be like more of a bastard, because he's not a nice guy, obviously, but I don't know, he plays it like he's just like a friendly grandpa or something, and then he's just like occasionally doing like a dickish thing. But I was like, I don't know, he needed a scene of being absolute cruelty or something.
I think this kind of taps into the noir thing of like lots of like morally grey characters, and it's interesting in that point to have a morally grey villain, I suppose. To be like, well, this guy's not completely evil. There's lots of stuff he's doing quite underhanded, but like there's clearly like a morality, I guess, to him. Yeah,
and I did think it was interesting stuff he said about the end. It was like he's like individualist, you know, but also he has no real reason for doing any of this, but he's kind of, this is the only thing that kind of like makes me feel alive. Like, what would I do if not struggle to keep what I have, you know? But the morally grey stuff is great, and I did enjoy that the most with Ben Reilly, because he's kind of an asshole, and like there's this whole thing of him trying to convince others that he's more of a dick than he actually is. But also, I really enjoyed the small acts of dickishness, like when he pretends like a phone isn't working so that he can wait for the call to come through, and the lady like sees him, and he's like, yeah, I know I'm a dick, you know, like he's willingly like throwing himself into that, and sometimes it's a cover. But a lot of the time, it's just like, he's willing to be a dick to like get what he wants. Yeah, and I thought that was enjoyable.
Yeah, again, it's very like private investigator. I think lots of that stuff kind of works. The only thing I think doesn't work in terms of villains is your boy Electro.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm glad you said it, because
talking like Bugs Bunny, like he sounds like he's taking a wrong turn in Albuquerque the whole way through, and he talks so much.
Every decision made about this guy was wrong.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking about it and I was like, oh, maybe it's is the actor's decision was bad in that he goes very big, but he doesn't have the goods to deliver in a way that like maybe a Brendan Gleeson or Nicolas Cage would be able to deliver that. But then I thought from a script angle, he was forced to go big because he has all these soliloquies about, my mama always said I was going to be a star. Now I finally have the power to get up the town and shine like a bright light. Like he was just forced into that corner.
Yeah.
I'm going to blame the fact that I can't impersonate this guy on the fact that his voice and his accent was terrible. It was so cartoonish. And tonally, it was weird because he was meant to be like one of like the nastiest of the characters. And he does kill people on screen. But in terms of how he's playing it like he's in the most family-friendly, U-rated, fun for all the family kind of thing. Like he's like the bad guy in a Beethoven movie or something.
He's from like the Spider-Man cartoon from the 90s.
Yeah, but like one of the worse voice actors, it's just weird. It's a weird clash, and every time he came on screen, I just felt like the energy was like leaving my body, and I was just like, "Oh, can we go back to someone else, or can someone take him out?" And unfortunately, he isn't quite a lot of the second half of the show.
They give him more time. At one of the first instances, they're kind of a bit like, "Oh, you're going to do that the whole time, are you?" And he's like, "Yep, I'm going to do that the whole time." And everyone's like, "Oh shit, I guess. Okay."
My oh my. How interesting. So many plot lines to follow.
Hey, this is editor Jack chipping in to hand in my nerd card. I didn't realize that this is Megawatt. I know that he calls himself Megawatt in the show, but I thought that was just them doing a spin on Electro. But apparently Megawatt is a real villain. But in my defense, he's in a B story of one issue of Spider-Man Unlimited in the 90s, which is also an era I do not particularly care for. I mean, it looks totally different, but he has a similar thing about being obsessed with being on the stage and fame and glory and that kind of thing. But I'm also chipping in to add that I forgot to say in this episode, I think, but the whole time it was making me think of Mark Proch in On Cinema at the Cinema. For anyone who happens to be a fan of that sort of niche Tim Heidecker, Greg Turkington comedy show, Mark plays a version of himself who does impressions of W.C. Fields that are terrible. And the whole time I was watching Noir, it just kept reminding me of him. So here's a little clip of that too.
Hi, everybody.
Give him a sec.
The Stooges and
W.C. Fields with the Three Stooges.
Hey, W.C. Fields, how are you? Oh, it's the Three Noodleheads. What are you guys up to today?
The show, for some reason, even though they've got I think the character of Flint Marko is really interesting, they some interesting stuff. I feel like Roy Lincoln is interesting, Brendan Gleeson is interesting, and you could build the villainy around any of these characters, but they chose to do it with him. I guess on one level you can see it coming a mile away, and I guess the idea is eventually you'll have a Sandman Electro beatdown. You'll be able to have them up against each other. But
there's a couple of things about it I like. I like that they do the thing that happens in the comics of, the electricity plus sand, you're going to turn them to glass. That's kind of a cool moment.
Yeah.
And I also think some of those villains were chosen because of how they look in black and white too, because I think the electricity can still look good. While they're very restrained in how much they actually show him use it, the sand CG looks really good in black and white. I haven't seen what it looks like in color.
Yeah.
I only watched the black and white version, but I thought that looked great. Unfortunately with the Sandman thing, I agree that I think he's a good character. Sandman's always a good one to go to for the
pathos.
Morally grey kind of guy. Unfortunately, the actor I think he's called Jack Houston. This is not objective whatsoever, but everyone has those actors that they just can't stand.
Yeah.
And it's just I don't want to watch something with this guy, and that's me and this guy, and I've had it for a really long time now. But when I see him, I'm like, oh, it's the guy from that Ben-Hur remake that was terrible.
Oh, what? I never saw Ben-Hur. I didn't know it was a fucking remake. Jesus.
Yeah, it's not good.
Oh, that's not surprising.
But I've never really liked him in anything, and I don't really like him in this either. And I think the character was pretty good up until the end, because I think they played his allegiances pretty well, and then at the end he kind of just acts like a huge idiot for no reason.
Yeah.
Because they needed a set piece fight, and I'm like, I have no idea why he is fighting right now.
What is his dog in this fight?
It's no good. It's broken. 2 payphones down this morning. This one and the one across from the delicatessen. Hello? Got it. Thanks, Janet. I lied.
We should talk about Robbie Robertson too.
Good old Lamorne Morris.
I feel conflicted about him in the same way that I feel conflicted about Tombstone, and that I think that they're both serviceable in this. And the fact that they're not adaptations of the originals from the comics, but they're the noir versions of them, means I can't get mad about any not getting what I liked about those characters from the comics, you know? But I do feel frustrated that I think we're getting a Tombstone and Brand New Day too. Cool. And so we're getting 2 Tombstones this year, and we're getting at least one Robbie Robertson, and I don't think that they're going to touch on the most fascinating thing about those characters, which is the relationship between Robbie Robertson and Tombstone, which at this point, the best adaptation of it is still Spider-Man the Animated Series, which is crazy. So there's a little bit of a weird conflicted feeling there, but I feel like they did a fairly good job with both.
Yeah.
But I do think that with Lamorne Morris, the thing that hit me that was crazy, and this is, again, like maybe stop listening now if you haven't seen the show and don't want spoilers, but there's a part near the end where he has to suit up and pretend to be the Spider. That was my favorite part for him. And I was like, oh man, he should be given something bigger and more outlandish, more comedic. And as Robbie Robertson, the role was fairly simple, and he just had to be kind of dignified, make a wry remark here and there, and then be a soundboard for, Ben. And so while I think it was good that he was in the show, there wasn't much to the character, and they didn't go deep into the journalism much. So I don't have much to say about him. I hope they do more interesting stuff with him if they do another season of this.
Do you think he was miscast?
I don't think he was miscast, really. I don't know if there's a version of that character that would be better, but it's more that I feel like there's stuff he would be better at doing, And I think when he got to have fun in that suit, I was like, oh, I kind of want to see him have more fun as a character, And I'm like, maybe he would have been a great Electro. I don't know.
Yeah, so that's the thing about him, because, obviously, I think most people know him primarily from New Girl. That Winston energy, if you bring that into this character, I think the character works a lot better. But for me, my most recent experience with Lamorne Morris was in Bloodshot, the Vin Diesel movie.
Oh god, see, you say Bloodshot, and then there's 1,000 Rob Liefeld characters flash through my mind, and I was like, what are we talking about now?
I was talking about the Vin Diesel movie, and for some reason he does an English accent in that movie.
Oh yeah, right. And
I don't know why they let him do that, or why they told him he should do it. I don't know why he's doing it, but my point was I was pleasantly surprised how much I liked him in this, but I also agree that it's not a really good use of what Lamorne Morris is good at. And I kind of think a Donald Glover would have been better. If off the top of my head, if we're talking about that character, I think Donald Glover is also good at the manic stuff, but I think he's better at the slower, cooler, more advisory stuff than Lamorne Morris might have been. I can imagine him being a 1920s journalist in a way that I don't necessarily feel like Lamorne Morris kind of embodied. But yeah,
I have a question in case I missed something, right? But how the fuck did Robbie get a newspaper?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I feel like in this show they very lightly touched on the fact that he was not respected and treated badly in the journalism business and stuff like that. And then at the end, I guess he had a story that was so good that he got a newspaper. He runs it now, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
And I was like, did I stop paying attention? I missed something major, because that seems like a big jump from, I blackmailed a guy into giving me a full-time job,
yeah, it's not really clear what happened because like the whole way through the show, they're basically going like, yeah, like you eventually you might get your job back if you hear them bringing like spider like stories back, and it's clear there's like a spider photographer like angle like there is with regular line like Spider-Man comics of, well, Spider-Man pays for like this guy's meals, and without it, he's not really like that much of a journalist. And they kind of don't really resolve it at all. I mean, maybe I wasn't paying attention either, but it just felt a bit like he impersonated Spider-Man, which, as like a journalist whose whole job is to take photos with Spider-Man, feels like a big no-no. Ethically kind of fucked.
But the only thing as well, when he did do that, and that whole scene happened and the unmasking and all that, I was like, oh, everyone in this room is gonna die.
Yeah.
It will go away.
As a rule, if you know Spider-Man's identity, you probably will have to die or have to fuck him. One of the two.
Yeah. Yeah, so everyone dies or leaves town in that room, so I guess the damage doesn't go too far.
Yeah.
The big thing with the show is the black and white, that old aesthetic, and then the color is kind of like a Technicolor kind of thing of the era too, and they filmed it in both at the same time, and they did the whole complicated set thing for this. And I went back and forth on this because sometimes I thought it looked really good, sometimes I think it didn't. Most people being complimentary about it, and it took me a while to figure it out. But then the more I looked at it, the more I was like, you know what? This show looks really good, but it's directed really poorly. Is my personal opinion on it. Because it's like the first Thor movie, you know, it's like Dutch angles every other shot.
Dutch angles for days. You just get desensitized to it.
I think some of it too, they staged scenes like it was like a, you know, Humphrey Bogart movie, like we're watching Casablanca or The Big Sleep or something. But those movies weren't shot in a modern way, and they're shooting this in a modern way. But also, I feel like the camera was just always placed oddly. It was like these really wide shots, or it was, you know, Dutch angle and then going in really close, but slowly. So it wasn't like a Sam Raimi kind of like dynamic thing. It was just kind of stiff. I think it kind of made a lot of stuff where I was like looking around like, wow, the lighting here is really good. I really like the coloring and how it complements the black and white here. But then the way it's shot makes it look kind of cheap in a way that this shouldn't, you know? So I feel like they did the hard part, which is make it look good in black and white whilst also shooting it in color. But then I think it's actually the director or directors, I'm not sure, who failed to capture it in a way that serviced it properly.
Yeah. Like, I know what you mean. I wasn't sure if it was the editing or the cinematography, but it's like you can tell that they've thought about like the black and white aspect of it, but they've clearly not thought about it enough by a long way. You know, it's like, it feels a bit half-assed, that stuff. Yeah, some of the stuff looks really good in black and white, but some of it looks like a modern shot or is Dutch angles for days, and it's like an accomplished filmmaker with an understanding of the techniques they would have used in that time would have taken the time to do this properly. And it feels a bit more like they've turned to someone and been like, well, you know, the 20s, like, it's black and white and like all that kind of stuff. Humphrey Bogart, Casablanca. But there's no real kind of, not even understanding, like a very basic understanding, but like an understanding of what made those things work, of like the craft behind it. It feels very shallow, I think, the cinematography.
Yeah.
Some of the shots look good, but like some of it's like just not very well thought out.
Yeah, I hope there's, in a way, this is a more of a proof of concept, and that with success, maybe a season 2 can get deeper into it. I would like to see more in-depth investigations, which we got more so towards the start, and more of the journalism angle of Robbie. I think there's some fun to be had with it. And again, like in the comics, the Spider-Noir villains are all horrific versions. I'm pretty sure the Vulture is a cannibal. And I think he may eat Uncle Ben.
That'll do it.
I'm not necessarily saying I want that, but I hope they keep going with their monster angle. And I hope that this gives them, I guess, the motivation to kind of lean into the weird more and let Cage get his cage on. And I hope it's not what can happen with this stuff. It's like, oh, it's successful. Let's micromanage this more. And like, make it bigger and widen the audience appeal, and then just kind of rinse the joy out of it a little.
I'm not confident they won't do that, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah. I do have one clip I want to play you quick of Nicolas Cage.
I remember meeting with Sam Raimi when he wanted me to play Green Goblin, and I said, well, I'm going to go do adaptation, but whoever you get to play Spider-Man, it would really be great to have one scene where he's alone in his room climbing the walls or behaving like a spider. I learned to love the Spider-Man or understand the appeal of that character much later. I think having watched Amy's early movies with it, I said, okay, it's because he's not just horizontal flying, he's an acrobat, he's a trapeze artist. Well, that's always interesting to watch. Okay, I get it. And the web thing is interesting in the...
Man, that would have been so great to watch you as Green Goblin.
Well,
that would have been so great.
Good, but I'm happy with my decision to do adaptation.
Yeah.
The three things that are notable to me, one is he refers to them as Amy's other movies. And I think it's really interesting how no one really talks about Amy Pascal unless they're usually like trying to talk shit about.
It's usually in a derogatory way, yeah.
So it's interesting, the idea of giving her ownership over them, but she has been present for all of them and is probably more involved than Avi Arad is.
Yeah.
My favorite thing about this is the idea. I can imagine a very polite Sam Raimi nodding as Nicolas Cage says, if you're going to do this, Sam, if you're going to do this really well, got to be like a spider. He's got to be on the ceiling because he's a spider, but he's a man. He's a spider in a man's body. So he's got to be walking around like a spider, got to be acting like a spider. And Sam's like, yeah, okay. Of course.
I got it, Nick. Yeah, if I was a film director of any repute, the one thing I wouldn't do is take like notes from Nicolas Cage. I'm sure he's like I have to have him in my film, but I don't want his unsolicited advice.
Well, yeah, Nicolas Cage notes work only for Nicolas Cage, right?
Yeah.
Well, they're saying that. I think now I'm like, well, next season, can we get some more scenes of Nicolas Cage without the mask on, crawling around on the walls?
He'll do it. They probably can't.
Got a little bit of that, like when when he was in like bed and he like his arms and legs comes up like he's a
dead spider. Yeah. So what fucking hydraulic systems of spiders for no fucking reason. He just like really gets into spiders. Oh god. And also my observation about that was that we're in the good timeline because I think the world is a worse place if he's the Green Goblin and we don't get adaptation.
Oh yeah, for sure. This is the other thing. I saw this other interview, right, where he compared two things, right? There were two jobs he wanted but turned down, and he said, I made the better choice. One was turning down Green Goblin to do adaptation, which is an incredible movie. Maybe his best performance.
What if a writer is attempting to create a story where nothing much happens, where people don't change, they don't have any epiphanies, they struggle and are frustrated and nothing is resolved? More a reflection of the real world.
And then the other one is that he turned down the Jeff Daniels role in Dumb and Dumber.
Also
with,
a good
Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he turned that down to do Leaving Las Vegas, which I think that's the one he got an Oscar,
it's only Oscar
nomination for, or the Oscar. Right, yeah. And those are like probably his two best performances, and they're both great movies, but also it leads him to like the humble brag of kind of, yeah, I could have done that, but instead I did this Charlie Kaufman movie.
It's not like Will Smith turning down The Matrix to do Wild Wild West.
Yeah.
Like he made the right call, even though. And the best part is like you can see it, and like you can see a Green Goblin with Nicolas Cage. He's got the hairline for it. He's got like the menace for it. But Willem Dafoe, I still think is better, and we get two performances instead of one.
Yeah, you can't compare anyone to Willem Dafoe really. Like he was so perfect for it. But like I think.
What about a Willem Dafoe adaptation? What if they swapped? Would that be better?
I think Willem Dafoe can do everything, but you really, really don't want to switch those two roles at all. Adaptation wouldn't have been anything without Cage. Well, I mean, it would have been good, but it wouldn't have been what it is. But it is interesting to think about that kind of alternate history. But what I'm seeing here, are you positing that Nicolas Cage is some kind of reverse Will Smith?
I've said crazy things.
I mean, I don't know how it lines up logically, but until I find a way in which it doesn't work, I'm going to go with that.
I think about Will Smith's legacy as an actor. It's, I think, unfulfilled potential. I think he's a better actor than his roles gave him credit for.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I think with Nicolas Cage, he's kind of like bringing the best out of every garbage role he's been given.
Yeah. Almost the final say in Nicolas Cage is that Nicolas Cage episode of Community where they're studying him.
Nicolas Cage is so weird. I mean, he seems scared to smell that flower, but happy to get shot.
He's a complex performer. He'll give you The Rock, Con Air, then Face Off, and you think you understand. But then Wind Talkers, Guarding Test, The Wicker Man, he begs you to stop watching, but you can't.
Trying to figure out if it's good or bad.
Every take in there is funny, and I agree with. What was it? There's something that like Shirley says where she says something, if I was in 200 films speaking at different volumes for long enough, I think I'd win an Oscar. It was something like that. And it's just like, he is just kind of like playing it best to get the good average. Because there are a lot of, like, I knew a friend who was saying they were going to watch every Nicolas Cage film. And I was like,
good fucking
I had to stop them. And I was like, I love Nicolas Cage, but you don't know what you're getting into. You should start with like watching the interesting ones at least, because when you get into the direct to DVD,
like the insane garbage,
some of it is crazy in a fun way, and some of it he's just playing it super straight and he's getting a paycheck, and the movie has zero going on and it's just a waste of your time. He did a lot of those because he had a lot of debt to make up.
Yeah, fucking Gone in 60 Seconds is garbage. Fucking Next is terrible. And they're all movies that, like, those kind of movies where, like, you think because it's Nicolas Cage and he's that reputation of Nicolas Cage and you have that concept that you're like, this is going to be great. But I don't know if this is a controversial take, but I think The Wicker Man is kind of bad in a not fun way. I think if you take out, like, the little moments of, like, absurdity that he has during the movie, I think the movie itself is, like, really no fun at all. It's kind of garbage. And I feel that's like a lot of his roles.
How'd it get burned? How'd it get burned? How'd it get burned? How'd it get burned?
I don't know!
See, that's the thing, is that I agree, but I also think that that's a level above a lot of the other stuff he's done.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what did you think of Dog Eat Dog?
I never saw that.
What about The Trust?
I don't know what that is.
What about Pay the Ghost, The Runner, Dying of the Light, Outcast, Rage?
Is that all one movie?
Stolen, Seeking Justice. Like, he just did so many of these, like, kind of movies that look exactly the same, and they're just straight up, you can't even remember anything that happened in them.
They also have movies that Steven Seagal passed on.
Yeah, there's depths of just boredom in that filmography, but then on the flip side, there's some of the most outrageous things. It kind of covers everything, because he's also like a romantic lead in some stuff.
Like Wild at Heart.
This is a snakeskin jacket. And for me, it's a symbol of my individuality and my belief in personal freedom.
Well, have you seen Moonstruck?
Well, no, I haven't seen Moonstruck, no.
You should watch Moonstruck. You will believe that Cher can be paired with Nicolas Cage, and that you will believe in that relationship, even though Nicolas Cage is caging it up and he's got a hook for a hand, and somehow you're like invested emotionally in this.
Yeah.
So genuinely, it's a great movie, but it's also like, how is that on the same filmography as Ghost Rider?
Or Leaving Las Vegas, even.
Yeah, it's all over the shop. What an interesting, crazy career he's had. He's like, I want to do literally everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, why not be a Spider-Man too?
I'd watch it. I did watch it.
Bring me the big knife.
No, Ronnie.
Bring me the big knife. I'm gonna cut my throat.
And in all likelihood, this is probably the last episode we're going to put out before Brand New Day comes out very soon. And I only have two quick things to share about that, which I think are funny. Tom Holland apparently has a secret Twitter account he uses to rage bait Spider-Man fans. The quote is, I get in fights on Twitter, I make shit up and tell people to read a comic. And I have never loved him more.
That's some Robert Pattinson level shit.
Yeah. I think he's been hanging out with Robert Pattinson on set of The Odyssey. That's the thing. But I think that's really funny, and also it makes me think I may have had him in my mentions at some point.
Yeah.
Because there's so many people who say stuff that doesn't make any sense and then claim that it's because they know a lot about comics, and you're like, you legit are talking nonsense.
Yeah. You probably have had like a flame war with him.
The other thing is that he would call Spider-Man producers from the set of the Odyssey in order to, quote, lay down the law about filming blockbusters the Christopher Nolan way. Quote, I'd say, we are not going to come to set and figure it out. We need to know why we are making this movie beyond the fact. And I think for me, that's a good sign for the movie that, I don't know, there's a lot of good signs around Brand New Day for me. I'm getting baited into potentially being disappointed, but there's some good stuff going on. But also a lot of people are making fun of this idea. Someone I know sent this to me and was like pairing it up with the fact that Robert Pattinson was the only actor in the Odyssey who asked to see a script. And Nolan was like, what? Because it's like, it's the Odyssey and it's Christopher Nolan, but Pattinson is that, you know, he's picking his projects carefully.
He was in Twilight. And he does what he's doing.
Tom Holland is like going to the Odyssey and he's like, this is how a movie is made?
The funny thing about that is Tom Holland is 30 years old, near enough.
But he's spent his half his life like on a green screen, you know. It is interesting to me, the idea of him come back and be like, nah, we're not fucking around. Because I think that is the Marvel way a lot of the time is
make this movie properly.
Yeah, we're kind of like, we'll fix it in post kind of thing, you know? And I think he's like, no, why are we doing the things we're doing? And I think that's a good energy to come in with.
I do think eventually it'll make him be recast as Spider-Man, because they'll be like, the execs will be like, he's causing too much trouble. Get someone else who's cheaper. Didn't get fired because he's quite asking too many questions.
Yeah, he has so many questions that they're forced to do a Miles Morales live action.
Yeah.
Finally, they're like, fine, we'll do it.
Yeah. This young black actor will know his place.
We don't have a lot of time and we're not going to go in super deep. But do you have any predictions for Brand New Day? There's now 2 trailers out. I don't know if you saw the second one, but I wouldn't say it adds much.
It has almost nothing.
One. Yeah, it's just you see him gloop out of his wrist, which is disgusting, as always.
Very similar to how it in Spider-Noir. But yeah, I feel like we're kind of leaning towards like a man-spider thing. But I also think with Man-Spider, I think it's the last thing you can do with Spider-Man that will be remotely interesting in a movie context.
Mm.
And B, I don't know, if this movie is not PG-13, I don't think they'll do it. Because I think, like, if you're like a little, like, 7-year-old, like, boy watching Spider-Man turning into, like, a horrible, like, spider monster, and then the movie ends, I think would be great. But it would, like, just, like, psychologically destroy like, lots of young children.
Well, I think right after this we go and, like, the next one is, like, an Avengers movie. So I don't know how, like, I don't know if they can start, like, recruiting their heroes to save the universe. And they're like, oh, Spider-Man turned into a giant monster. What do we do about this?
Maybe that's how they recast Tom Holland. They write his character out by man-spidering him, and they go like, hey, Andrew Garfield, what are you up to?
They flush him down the sink at the end of the movie.
Yeah. Something like that. Like, my hot take is that, like, this is the last Tom Holland Spider-Man movie.
Apparently this is a PG-13.
Okay, they might do Man-Spider then.
I mean, I think it's pretty hard to do Man-Spider without it either looking stupid or being
like
scary
horrifying
for kids.
Yeah.
But I think it's okay to be a bit scary. You know, there was all these signs about like whether the first Spider-Man was too scary for kids because of
Willem Dafoe.
Green Goblin or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just Willem Dafoe like, before anything went wrong.
Young audiences.
He just comes on set and was like,
put that big helmet on him quickly, goddamn.
I can sense the aura of his gigantic penis.
Yeah, that's too much for young children. You have to give him a metal suit because the fabric one is too hugging.
Yeah, anyway, like the thing is with the Man-Spider, that's the main thing to guess is I think it would be a pop-off to do the multiple arms, and obviously the Man-Spider of it all would be fun, but I'm now wondering about how good I am at guessing these things, and I feel quite strongly in my heart that there's a Man-Spider in this movie, but I also felt quite strongly in my heart that there wasn't going to be an Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire in the last movie, and I was super wrong. So now I'm like, does that mean that there isn't a Man-Spider in this movie? Because I'm always wrong.
But also, like, if there's not a Man-Spider in this movie, then what is this movie?
Well, there's stuff in the comics where he goes through this stuff and it's kind of like internal, are you the man or are you the spider? And they're doing that with his personal life too. Like he's being all Spider-Man and there's no Peter Parker. So there is comic precedence for it, but there's no escalation beyond like the organic webbing and stuff. And like, I feel like there needs to be some sort of escalation. So I think it would be surprising if he doesn't at least have like an extra arm at one point.
It's tricky, I think, because I know I was saying before, like No Way Home, that in terms of Spider-Man stories you can tell on the big screen, like there's only so much escalation you can take, and if they don't escalate, then as like a comic book fan, you can be like, well, we get to just tell Spider-Man stories, but like from an executive point of view, they can have the argument and be like, well, why would we make a movie about Spider-Man if we know it's not going to make $1 billion because we've done all the $1 billion ideas for Spider-Man? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think part of it though is the people on this have a lot of cred to them. You know, like the director, Destin Daniel Bretton, has already worked with them on. Not only did he do Shang-Chi, but he also did Wonder Man, which I think we both liked Wonder Man, didn't we?
I didn't see Wonder Man.
Oh, you didn't? I think you would like Wonder Man. It's like kind of like a very quiet, non-Marvel thing, really. Like it's not going to blow your mind, but it's kind of just like a story about like acting and like two actors who kind of become friends, and then there's plot stuff around it, but that's kind of it. And it's like a pleasant watch.
Okay.
And it was successful. And then it got one of the writers, Chris McKenna, was like pretty key guy to what made Community great. And then Tom Holland obviously has a lot of pull as like a star, Zendaya, and I don't know. I'm feeling nervously optimistic, you know, but we'll see. I mean, it's not in too long. By the time I edit this episode, it might even be out.
Yeah. Well, it's like end of July, so maybe not. But yeah, no, I think just off the No Way Home, I'm a bit almost like it's a bit of a clean slate for me. That I'm like, well, you've done all this stuff now. What do you actually want to do? What are these going to be like? And part of me is they're going to do Man Spider so they can bring in like Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield for Secret Wars. But I'm just kind of like, let's see what happens. You know, Spider-Man is such a serialized type of story. The setting it leans towards it so much. And the problem is that it's so good at that they can't therefore do it. Because like, if you're talking about like, if you didn't think about the money at all, and you were like, well, what's the best way to like tell the Spider-Man story? The best way would be television. And I think Spider-Man kind of like almost confirms that for me.
Yeah,
a little bit of like the Spider-Man like similarity you get between that and like the regular Spider-Man. Like, oh yeah, this is the way to tell the story. And I think you're kind of at a point of contradiction where you're like, we need to tell interesting stories in a medium that is kind of the antithesis of telling interesting stories. And what are those things that's going to have to give out?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, all I can promise is that whatever review I give will not be objective, because with all these movies so far, I feel like I've been really hyped about them in our review, and then later on started to have my doubts. And last time a big thing was I didn't like what they were doing with the multiverse stuff, but also like, you know, the Tobey Maguire and the Alfred Molina and the Willem Dafoe, like it was hitting me and it was good, you know, and it hit me in my soul a bit. So I was kind of off kilter. I think with this, they're kind of doing all the things I kind of been asking them to do in a way. Like, I don't care about the organic webbing. That's not something I want. But the idea of focusing on his inner turmoil, having him not be a trust fund kid.
That'll be nice.
And fighting criminal elements, interacting with like people like the Punisher and potentially, you know, Daredevil or whatever, having like a flourishing city that has a lot of stuff going on in New York, and you don't need to go further than that. Like it's kind of ticking a bunch of boxes, like they're trying to please me specifically, which makes me feel like now I'm nervous whether I can actually tell people if it's a good movie or not.
My final question to you is this: is Scorpion dead?
Is Scorpion dead?
Yeah.
Oh, because he got whipped into a truck.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he's dead.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's true to the Scorpion of the animated series that he would get the shit beaten out of him.
Yeah.
And it would be kind of funny if that guy, because Michael Mando in Homecoming, he's actually kind of scary and threatening. And it would be really funny if he actually gets power and then he's just getting his ass kicked.
Yeah.
But my assumption is that he is there to be a big threat, but as Spider-Man's powered up and then goes too far, yeah, I think he's going to be in a coma. I think he's going to put him in a coma is what's going to happen. And then he is going to be like, oh shit.
I fucked that guy
whipped
up.
him too hard.
He's going to be drinking like prison meals through a straw.
I think he's going to be MCU family-friendly version of Dead, which is in a hospital.
Spider-Man can't murder someone, so however close we can get to that. Because that guy, he whipped into a fucking car. That guy's fucking dead. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, like, he's pretty much just wearing cargo pants with that tail on his ass, so yeah he's not...
He's basically like
maybe that's part of it, is that he gets... Okay, here's my new prediction with Scorpion. He gets his ass kicked there, and then he gets fucked up so bad that whoever the bad guy is soups him up with a more armor for later on in the movie.
Yeah, because his legs don't work anymore.
Like, that's a trope, right? That happens a lot in these. You know, he's going to come back and he's going to be stronger. And maybe at that point, his powers aren't as strong anymore. And he's like, oh, now I need to take on this guy who's all fucked up.
And also, I fucked him up, so he's really mad at me.
Mm-hmm.
I broke his legs. He only has he has a hydraulic system instead of legs now. That wasn't my fault.
Oh, he now has to crawl around like an actual scorpion.
Yeah.
He's got teeny legs.
Yeah. Okay, so that's all the Spider stuff we have time for this occasion. But please check out Spider-Noir and get ready for a brand new day. And check us out in the meantime. We've got lots of Spider-Man stuff you can...
Oh, yeah. One last update. All our episodes are now up on YouTube.
Excellent.
So, and this episode should be automatically uploaded to that too. So please enjoy the YouTube.
Yes, and subscribe and give us money if you can.
All right, Patreon. Blah, blah, blah. Okay,
Bye.
goodbye.
See ya. Bye.
Ha 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 ha!